Hi everyone, Brendan Houdek from New York Speech Coaching here with another episode of Voice Breakdown, the show where we teach you how to imitate some of the most iconic voices. Continuing our SpongeBob series, today we'll be breaking down the voice of the greediest crustacean in all of Bikini Bottom, Mr. Krabs. Argh, 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 argh. Mr. Krabs, played by Clancy Brown, has been a main character on the show since its very first episode. He runs the Krusty Krab, a fast food restaurant and SpongeBob's place of employment. Besides his daughter Pearl, Mr. Krabs' greatest love is money. Money. His pirate-like voice works well with his money obsession. Just like a pirate is always looking for treasure, Mr. Krabs is always searching for money. Let's break that pirate-like voice down. Argh, 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 argh. Component number 1, the vocal cords. Mr. Krabs' normal speaking voice is on the lower pitched side. We want to make the vocal cords short for this to produce that low pitch. However, when he gets angry or excited, it is common for his voice to flip into falsetto. Me money! Me money! The most important aspect to get right is the distortion that is present in his voice. This is accomplished by two separate yet related things. First, we want to over-compress his voice. We have discussed how compression is the act of the vocal cords coming medially together. The greater the compression, the tighter the voice will sound. Instead of me money, we want to tighten the compression to sound like me money. He has this compressed voice more often than not. In addition to that, we want to use a body part known as the false vocal cords. The false vocal cords sit just above the true vocal cords. When we utilize them, a rough distortion is created. If we combine this with the pitch and compression we discussed earlier, we are well on our way to sounding like Mr. Krabs.
All we need to do is get your confidence back, so you can make me more money. I mean, pennies. Money.
Component number 2, the larynx. The larynx might not be a primary component for Mr. Krabs, but we do want to be mindful of it. It should be slightly raised. This will help us to add a little brightness to his voice. Additionally, the raising of the larynx can also make the tighter compression and use of distortion easier. It does not need to be drastically raised, but only mildly so.
Pizza? Of course we have pizza! Time is money!
Component number 3, the tongue. The front of the tongue for Mr. Krabs is very slightly pulled back. This is the case mostly due to his articulation, which we'll discuss once we get into component number 5. Think about the sound and what that feels like as you pull the tongue back into this position. While we don't keep the tongue perpetually in that position, do keep it in mind as you will need to go there often for his articulation idiosyncrasies.
How about a little music to count me money to? Is that a 20?
Component number 4, the soft palate. The soft palate acts as a trap door between the mouth and nose and allows us to make adjustments to our oral or nasal resonance. Mr. Krabs' voice is not to either extreme regarding oral or nasal resonance. Thus, begin trying out this voice by keeping your soft palate in its normal position. Or another way to think of it is to not to try to add more oral or nasal resonance. Then, simply fine-tune if you feel that your final product needs a little more or less brightness.
Donate to the children's fund. Why? What have children ever done for me?
Component number 5, articulation. Mr. Krabs' articulation is very rhotic. This means that there is a great emphasis on his R and sounds. Pay attention to any words that have R, or R-colored vowels in them. R-colored vowels are things like air, R, or, and ear. When saying these, be sure to really overpronounce the portion of these sounds. Don't just say R, but R. Additionally, Mr. Krabs tends to drop NG at the ends of words. Instead of saying losing, it is losin'.
It's losing me money!
We should also mention that he says me instead of my, and the word you will sometimes be said as ya or ye.
Money, 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 money.
Component number 6, prosody. The best way to think of Mr. Krabs' prosody is to think of how a pirate would talk. Additionally, there is a very slight Scottish brogue present, according to Krabs voice actor Clancy Brown. Think of a slightly Scottish pirate, and you'll have the prosody just right. Another thing to note is that Mr. Krabs' prosody is not subtle. He tends to be very loud and in your face. Keep the volume and excitement up when sounding like Mr. Krabs.
No! That cost me $24.95!
Let's recap. Component number 1, the vocal cords. Keep the voice low-pitched, but break into falsetto when mad or excited. Component number 2, the larynx. You just want a mild raise to the larynx to add some brightness. Component number 3, the tongue. The tongue should be slightly pulled back into an position. Component number 4, the soft palate. Not too much to worry about with this one, simply have a nice balance between nasal and oral resonance. Component number 5, articulation. Overdo R, and R colored vowels, drop NG at the ends of words, say me instead of my, and ya or ye instead of you. Component number 6, prosody. Be a loud and in-your-face pirate. Thank you for watching New York Speech Coaching's Voice Breakdown, episode 24. Be sure to check out future episodes of Voice Breakdown, the show where we teach you how to imitate some of the most iconic voices. See you next time.
Time is money!